Hi! Thanks for joining me for another video from Counselor Tips. In this Counselor Tips video, I'm going to be covering information on OARS. It's a technique that is part of motivational interviewing. Yes, this theory has a whole lot of acronyms, but hang in there with me as I briefly cover the meaning behind OARS and give examples on how to use it. So the acronym OARS stands for different techniques to use while using motivational interviewing as part of your counseling process. The O specifically stands for open-ended questions. Open-ended questions are questions that cannot be answered with a simple yes or no. Some examples might be, what was that like for you? How would you describe that situation from your perspective? You can also use decisional balance questions as part of your open questions. Some of them would look like this. Why would you want to make that change? What benefit do you think there would be to changing? What are your thoughts about making this change? What would actually persuade you to make that change? When using questions in motivational interviewing, we actually want to lead the client where they're going to be able to answer questions fully and honestly. Most effective questions hover over and land on the client's change talk, which emphasizes client-centered information about their life, needs, desires, values, preferences, dreams, and ideas. Questions that are intriguing may get tucked in the client's mind and not necessarily be answered in this session. These type of questions actually stimulate clients to think differently or to become aware of the root of their problem. The best kind of questions in motivational interviewing get clients to focus on change talk, which include their strengths, successes, and abilities. There's a separate video here in Counselor Tips about change talk. Please see that video if you're interested in furthering your knowledge on that. The A in OARS is affirmations. Affirmations are when we make statements of appreciation and understanding about the client and their process. There's a separate video on affirmations here in Counselor Tips if you're interested. Some examples might sound like this. I appreciate your willingness to talk about blank. You're a very resourceful person. Sounds like it was a difficult situation with only a few options to choose from, and it appears you did the best you could within your limitation. Hey, we all struggle to find the solution within our own constraints. It sounds like if you keep working on it, you'll find what's best for you. Oh, you had a setback, but you really have been trying hard. Let's review the progress you're making. When using affirmations, try to focus on the client and drop statements that start with I think or I believe. Affirmations are factual, they're specific, they're unarguable statements about the client's strengths, life, achievements, and talents. They can include past successes, successes in other areas of their life, and seem transferable to their current situation. Affirmations are meant to build the client's self-efficacy. This can help clients begin to recognize they already have some of what they need to make changes, which can lead clients to seeing that change is possible and even probable. Affirmations are intended to insert hope about the client's strengths and successes. Affirmations strengthen the counseling rapport, and this helps counselors see beyond the client's negative behavior, and the clients may begin to do the same. Make sure you follow up the affirmation with an open-ended question. It actually redirects the focus back to the client. You can ask the client how they accomplished, what choices they made to accomplish, how the client may have learned to do what they did, what their feelings are behind what they did, as well as what benefits the clients can identify based on their new choice. The R in OARS is reflective listening. We are acting as a mirror, reflecting back to the client what they've said. A well-informed reflection allows the client to know that they've been heard by the counselor, but it also offers an opportunity for a counselor to check out if they've heard the client correctly. A client can correct where there's been a misunderstanding and try to communicate more clearly what they intended to say. If you are wrong and the client corrects you, great. It's better for the clients to know who they are and their values and meaning, as well as what they think and believe, versus you being right. In motivational interviewing, reflective listening is most powerful when it focuses on change talk that we've heard from the client. It's important to understand that you're going to use more reflective listening in motivational interviewing than questions. If I were to put it in percentages, I would say that you would be using 3 reflective listening statements to 1 question. That is, 3 out of 4 times that you talk, they would be reflective listening statements versus a question, or 75% to 25%. Reflective listening can appear in multiple ways. It can appear as a paraphrase. It can appear as a reflection of feeling. It could appear as reflection of meaning. So here are examples of how to use these 3 that I just mentioned. So a paraphrase may sound something like this. I hear you saying that you tried the best you could within your limitations. A reflection of feeling. You sound extremely disappointed in the outcome of that situation. Reflection of meaning. It seems really important for you not to lie, and being put in that predicament seemed to challenge your values. When using reflective listening, think about highlighting any discrepancy between where the client is currently and where the client wants to be. Reflective listening is used to highlight any change talk that the client has stated. The use of reflective statements typically leads to the counselor then using an open-ended question, which can also reinforce the client's change talk. And lastly, in the OARS acronym, the S stands for summarize. Summarization is collecting the major points of the conversation at any point engaging with the client and delivering them back to the client. So you can start session with a summary, you can end session with a summary, or after a significant portion of data has been shared in the counseling session, you could ask the client to provide the summary. A simple example of a summary can look something like this. I hear you saying you are getting discouraged when people don't follow through with what they say to you. You respond then by withdrawing, and then you end up having strained communication with people you care about. Do you hear how in that summary I pointed out 3 separate points that the client may have shared? We can use a summary to simply rein in a client's sharing when it seems that they've been all over the place, or when a client has shared many points that may or may not be related. When using a summary, try to announce what you're doing with the client. Some ways to start a summary are these. So let me see if I've heard everything you said. Or let me sum up what's been discussed here. Or another one is, so in summary, I am hearing. Then you want to follow up the summary if you're providing it to the client with an open-ended question to check out if you have heard the client clearly and everything that they wanted to say. So here's an example of a summary. Let me see if I understand what you said. You've told your spouse what has happened, but you're not so sure you want to bring your other family members into the discussion. You want to make the best decision, but are worried if you do not consult all of your family members, then you might be making the wrong decision. I heard you say you know things need to change. So, what do you think you'll do? The example provided in this summary notes several key factors that we're always looking for in motivational interviewing. It notes change talk, the notation of the client's ambivalence, Then it uses an open-ended question to solicit the client in defining what their next step will be. I hope you found that this brief video on OARS has been supportive and educational for you. Please consider using OARS regularly while using motivational interviewing. It is a key factor in moving conversations along, as well as clients in developing and sustaining change talk. If you found this video helpful, please consider sharing it with others. If you find that you're learning from Counselor Tips and want to continue to learn, please consider subscribing to this channel, and I'll see you soon.